Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I just recall, last day I introduced the concept of random process. So what did we see? Any random signal, it can be treated as a member of a collection of random signals that are known as the sample realizations or sample functions. This entire collection of random signals, this entire collection of sample realizations, they come from the same device, or we may say they are the result outcome of the same experiment. So this constellation or collection of the sample realizations that we have, they are said to constitute the random process. So if we are interested in studying the statistics of the signal value at any particular instant t1, then from all these collections we have small x1 t1, small x2 t1, small x3 t1, etc. They are the values assumed by a random variable capital X t1. So now you can find out by some means the density function, the cumulative distribution function, etc. The expectation, the moments of different orders, etc. So those computations, they are not to be computed along the time axis, but they are to be computed across the ensemble in the y direction. All right. Now, random processes, they are of 4 types from the point of view of the format of time and the format of the values assumed by the random process. I am assuming that t can take on time from value from minus infinity to plus infinity, and x can take on values from minus infinity to plus infinity. So the first type is the continuous amplitude and continuous time variety. Continuous amplitude and continuous time variety as examples, most of the sample realizations that I have considered, for example, this is the case of continuous time and continuous amplitude random process. All right. This is the case of continuous time and continuous amplitude random process. This one is the case of continuous time and continuous amplitude random process, where the time can take on a continuum of values and the random signals, the sample realizations, they can also take on a continuum of values. So that variety is called continuous time, continuous amplitude random processes. Second variety is called discrete amplitude and continuous time random processes. This is a typical example of a sample realization of that variety, discrete random process. All right. Continuous time, discrete amplitude, also known as discrete random process. Where do you come across such a random process? Say you are dealing with a random signal, you have done processing, and then after that, it's converted into an analog signal. So the output of the DAC will be of this form. All right. The amplitude can take on only discrete number of values, and this time can take on a continuum of values. Third variety is the continuous amplitude and discrete time variety, which is also known as discrete time random process or continuous random sequence. So here, just see that the random process realizations, the members of the random process, they can take on values only at discrete instants of time, as indicated here. All right. But the values that they can take on, they are a continuum of values, all possible values in that range, minus infinity to plus infinity, maybe over a finite range also. The last variety is the discrete amplitude and discrete time random process. So that is the case. We have quantization in time as well as quantization in amplitude. So the random process can take on values at this instance only: 0 plus minus tau, plus minus 2 tau, plus minus 3 tau, plus minus 4 tau, etc. Or if you treat it as a function of n, 0 plus minus 1 plus minus 2 plus minus 3, etc. So that is the case of time. In case of amplitude also, what I have shown by these horizontal lines, these are only the allowed values of the amplitude. There can be nothing between in these two. So either this one or that one or this one or that one. So that is the case of a discrete random sequence. For our purpose, we will consider only continuous time, continuous amplitude random process, and discrete time, continuous amplitude random process. So these are the two types of process that we will consider for our purpose. Now note down this part, then I'll proceed. Just draw a rough sketch. This is a typical sample realization for a discrete amplitude and continuous time random process. Here, xt can take on values only at discrete instants of time, but the values that it can take on, that is a continuum of values. The type of discrete time signals that have been considered in your digital signal processing course are of this variety. Whereas, if you want to represent a digital signal, say the output of an ADC, in the truest sense, that will be given by this class number 4, the next one, discrete amplitude, discrete time. Sorry. XT assumes, there is a mistake here, XT assumes
Done, sir.
Okay. This is the last one. So this is in the truest sense, they represents the digital signal, say at the output of the ADC. At the output of the ADC, you can have a signal that can take on only discrete number of values, only a fixed number of values. And it's also discretized along time axis. By this time, you have understood perhaps that random processes, they can be described statistically only, because it's a collection of infinite number of random variables. Therefore, we move on to the statistical description of random processes. We'll start with the first order statistics involving a single random variable. That means freezing our attention to a particular instant of time. Then we will consider the second order statistics, the joint statistical properties, when we will consider two instants of time. Therefore, we will have two random variables. So involving these two random variables, obviously you will have the joint statistics. So that also should be taken into account.
স্যার 1 মিনিট করে যাবেন। হ্যাঁ স্যার, ডান।
Need not draw it, but I have considered here a continuous time random process. I should have also given here the figure of just a recollection of the discrete time random process, which is this one, say. Just for reference, this figure. So here, if you freeze your attention in case of the continuous time random process, continuous time and continuous amplitude random process, if you freeze your attention to a particular instant t1, then small x1 t1, small x2 t1, small x3 t1, in this way up to small xi t1, these are the values assumed by a random variable capital X t1 or capital X1. Similarly, in the case of discrete time continuous amplitude signal, if you freeze your attention to a particular instant n1, then small x1 n1, small x2 n1, small x3 n1, etc., up to small xi n1, they will be the values assumed by a random variable capital X with argument n1 or capital X1, same thing. So the first order statistics that is obtained by freezing your attention to a particular instant t or at a sampling instant n for a discrete random process. So for that random variable xt or xn, you will have this cumulative distribution function. This is the convention that I'll follow. Capital F with argument x semicolon t, implying that we are freezing our attention to the instant t. And for that instant, we are obtaining the cumulative distribution function. You know that the cumulative distribution function, it represents the probability that the random variable is less than equal to small x. So this is also the expression for the cumulative distribution function. 1a is the expression for a random process when it is a continuous amplitude discrete time random process. Correspondingly, you will find the first order PDF. All right. First order probability density function. Equation 2 will give you the first order probability density function for continuous time random process and 2a for the discrete time random process. Just write these things.
স্যার এই টপিকটা কি ছিল নামটা?
Statistical description of random processes. Now I am considering the statistics of a single random variable by freezing our attention to a particular instant of time or a particular sampling instant in case of the discrete random process. capital F, it will be the integral of small f. And remember here, for both continuous time and discrete time random process, the integration is done along the ensemble, along the collection, not along the time axis. Therefore, here the variable of integration is not t, but it is a. And ultimately, a is a dummy variable. Ultimately, we will get a function of x. Similar will be the case for the cumulative distribution function of the discrete time random process. It will not be summation. If we had considered computation along the t-axis, it would have been a summation. But because it is in the vertical direction, therefore it's an integration. Because we are assuming that they can take on the amplitude of the random process, it can take on a continuum of values. So in both these cases, we have integration. Obviously, for the random variable x, capital Xt, we will also have the expectation, the variance, the standard deviation, the moments of higher orders, etc. Therefore, we have what is known as the ensemble average or statistical mean or statistical average of the random process at an instant small t or small n, as the case may be. It is simply the expectation of capital Xt or capital Xn. So that is the expectation of Xt. So it will be the integration in case of continuous time random process as well as in the case of a discrete time random process, because the variable of integration is x, not time. After the ensemble average, we are straightway considering the kth moment of the random process at instant t or n, as the case may be. So equation 4 is the expression for the kth moment of the random process at the instant small t, and equation 4a, that will give you the kth moment of the random process at the sampling instant small n. So just see that in case of the discrete time random process also it's integration, because the variable of integration is x. So we are computing the expectation across the ensemble, not along the time axis. The first moment is the expectation, the second moment is the mean square value. So equation 5 and 5a, they give the mean square value. We will also consider the centered random variables, xt minus mu xt or xn minus mu xn. The fluctuation of the random process about its ensemble average. So the centered random variable is being considered here. So we'll also have the central moments. So those are the expressions for the kth central moments of the random process. Obviously, the most important is the second central moment or variance of the random process at the instant small t or small n. So all these values, the moments, the central moments, obviously they will depend on the choice of small t or small n. Unless there is something special. Ordinarily, They will depend on the choice of small t or small n. So those are the expressions for the variance of the random process. Equation 7 and 7a. Equation 7 for the continuous time random process, equation 7a for the discrete time random process. Variance, you know, it gives the power in the fluctuating component of random process at instant t or n. Because it is the mean square value of the fluctuation of the random process about its ensemble average. Therefore, it will give you the power in the fluctuating component of the random process about its mean at instant t or n. About its mean means about its ensemble average. Standard deviation gives the RMS value of this fluctuating component. Mean square value is the power in the random process itself, and variance is the power in the fluctuating component of the random process about the ensemble average at instant t or n. So that is done. লিখেছো তো ঠিকঠাক?
Yes, sir.
We move on to higher order statistics. Higher order statistics simply means that we will consider more than freeze our attention to more than one instant of time or sampling instant. So we will get more than one random variables. Now there will be the joint density function involving these random variables, the joint cumulative distribution function, the moments, etc. So for higher order statistics, we start with two instants of time. We have frozen our attention to two instants of time T1 and T2 for the continuous time random process, or small n1 and small n2 for the discrete time random process. Thus, we have two random variables, xt1 or xn1 represented by x1, xt2 or xn2 represented by x2. Therefore, equation 9 gives the second order joint cumulative distribution function.
স্যার একটু উপরে যাবেন,
হুম,
স্লাইড উপরে জাস্ট
হ্যাঁ,
লাস্ট পার্টটা মিস হয়ে গেছে প্রবাবলি। না স্যার ঠিকই আছে, আমার লাগছিল কিছু মিস করে গেছিলাম। ঠিক আছে স্যার। স্যার ওটা লেখা হয়নি এখনো।
ঠিক আছে।
1 মিনিট উপরে যাবেন একটু।
স্যার এক্ষেত্রে টাইমের অ্যাক্সিস বরাবর ইন্টিগ্রেশন না করার কি কোনো কারণ আছে এই যে এই প্রসেসে?
হ্যাঁ, কারণ এখান তো ভেরিয়েবল অফ ইন্টিগ্রেশনটা হচ্ছে তোমার র্যান্ডম ভেরিয়েবলের ভ্যালুটা।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
বুঝতে পেরেছো?
আচ্ছা
একটা যখন এক্সপেকটেশন, when you determine the expectation say of a random variable, if the symbol is x, the variable of integration is x. All right,
ইয়েস স্যার, আন্ডারস্টুড।
we are freezing our attention to a particular instant, so instant is not changing. What is changing at that instant are the values assumed by the random variable xt or xn. Do you understand?
ইয়েস স্যার।
So because there is no change in the instant, we are not considering a change in the instant. Therefore, whatever is changing is simply x in the vertical direction of according to the figure that I have shown.
Yes sir, done.
Second order joint probability density function, it's given by equation 10 and 10a. If you just extend this idea of second order cumulative distribution function, second order joint density function to say capital N number of instants, So we will now freeze our attention to capital N number of instance, small t1, small t2, small t3, in this way up to small t with subscript capital N for the continuous random variable, or small n1, small n2, small n3, in this way up to small n with subscript capital N. So we will have in both the cases capital N number of random variables. All right. So there can be the joint density function involving this capital N number of density random variables, the joint cumulative distribution function, the joint density function. Which
Yes, sir.
so that is the capital Nth order cumulative distribution function. Because we have frozen our attention to capital N number of instance, we are having capital N number of random variables, capital X1, capital X2, capital X3, in this way up to capital Xn. Capital X1 is either capital X with argument T1 or capital X with argument small n1, as the case may be. Capital X2 is either capital X with argument T2 or capital X with argument small n2, in this way. 11 gives the nth order joint cumulative distribution function, and equation 11a gives the same thing for discrete random process. So on differentiating them, we'll get the nth order density functions. Those are given in equation 12 and equation 12a for the two cases that we are considering, continuous time and discrete time random processes. So by this time, you should be frustrated that if this is the given scenario, that for completely describing the random process, you have to consider as many random sample realizations as possible, and you have to freeze your attention to ideally infinite number of instants, isn't it? Ideally, capital N has to be infinite for proper representation of the random process. So appears to be a completely impossible task, unless there is some simplifying assumption. We have certain random processes whose statistical properties, they don't change under time translation. So for those random processes, our task will be easier. Let's see what is the real meaning. Now, an important second order statistic, I have just pointed out that you will also have the second order joint moments. All right, so what is the most important second order joint moment? It is the correlation of the two random variables under consideration. So this moment of the correlation of the random variables, if you freeze your attention to two instants T1 and T2, the correlation of the two random variables xt1 and xt2, or xn1 and xn2, so that correlation is known as autocorrelation function of the random process. So it's represented in this way: capital R with subscript x with arguments T1 and T2. It is the expectation of the product of xt1 and xt2. That very thing has been written under the assumption that the random processes are real. The exact expression would have been expectation of the product of xt1 with the complex conjugate of xt2. But because we are considering that the random processes are real, therefore it's simply the expectation of the product of xt1 and xt2. This autocorrelation function is an extremely important thing. You assign different, for a fixed T2, assign different values to small t1, obtain the correlation values, then another T2, assign different values to small t1, all right, get the correlation values. In this way, if you consider two axes as small t1 and small t2, and then the third axis is the correlation values, then you will have this autocorrelation function. হয়েছিল তো লেখা?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Rx T1 T2, that is the expression given by equation 13, and if it is a discrete time random process, the expression will be given by, it will be represented as Rx N1 N2, and that will be given by 13A. So this autocorrelation function gives a measure of the statistical correlation between the random variables representing the random process at the instants T1 and T2. We also have obviously the autocovariance function, which will be the correlation of the random variables xt1 minus mu x t1 and xt2 minus mu xt2. So the correlation of those two centered random variables will give you the autocovariance function of the random process for the chosen time instance. Often it's also represented in this way. Instead of Rx T1 and T2 is represented as Rx T1, T1 plus tau, or in case of the discrete random process, Rx N1, N1 plus M. Tau is known as the lag parameter. M is also known as the lag parameter. So that's what the autocovariance function represents. This one. Anyway, I'm moving up. So that is the autocovariance function for continuous time random process. 14a will give it for the discrete time random process. Simply small t is to be replaced by small n. In case of a single random variable, you have the variance. In case of two random variables involving them, you have this autocovariance. For random variables in general, it's simply called covariance. Because it's a random process, it's called autocovariance function. The term auto comes in because we are concentrating our attention to a single random process. When we will treat more than more than one random process, that means two random process, then we will have the cross correlation function. Anyway, that's a different story. Now let's complete this part. I hope you have written up to that equation. That is the case for the discrete time random process. So what has been noted here is that in general, this second and higher order statistics, they depend on the choice of this instance, T1, T2, T3, Tn, or small n1, small n2, in this way up to small n, unless there is something special. Now I am trying to address the problem that I pointed out, that this characterization of a random process by statistical properties appears that it is impossible task. Therefore, we bring in what is known as the stationarity of random processes. Truly speaking, a random process, loosely speaking rather, when we say that a random process is stationary, we mean that the statistical properties, they remain unchanged under time translation. But we have to be formal. Some mathematical condition has to be laid down. What do we really mean by stationarity of a random process in the mathematical sense, in terms of mathematics? So first, I give you a very rigid definition of stationarity of random processes. It is said that a random process is strict sense stationary or narrow sense stationary if statistics of the process are invariant to time shift. Specifically, what we mean is that for any time shift tau, if I simply concentrate on only discrete time, continuous time random process, for any time shift tau and any integer capital N greater than equal to 1, the nth order density function, it will remain unchanged under time shift. So the nth order density function evaluated for T1, T2, T3, T4, Tn, it will remain same if instead of considering those instants, you consider the instance T1 plus tau, T2 plus tau, T3 plus tau, T4 plus tau, in this way up to Tn plus tau. So we have shifted from that collection T1, T2, T3, T4, Tn to the collection T1 plus tau, T2 plus tau, T3 plus tau, in this way up to Tn plus tau. If we find that even under this condition, in this time shift, the density function remains unchanged for all n greater than equal to 1 and all values of tau, then we can say that the random process is strict sense stationary. Is it stationary in the strict sense or narrow sense? So that is what is meant in case of the continuous time random process. In case of the discrete time random process, this is the expression. So this definition of stationarity, it's nice to hear that the statistical properties will remain unchanged under time shift. But the implication, mathematical implication that is revealed by equation 15 and 15a, it raises the apprehension that it is too rigid a condition to be satisfied for any random process, firstly. Secondly, even if it is satisfied for by some random process, it will be almost impossible to check whether this condition is satisfied or not. Do you understand? That is the problem. Okay, write down this part. So whatever I stated has been written down here, that the strict sense stationarity, it appears that it's a too rigid condition to be satisfied by random processes. And even if it is satisfied, to assess whether it is satisfied or not, that may be too big a burden. Therefore, we have to be satisfied by settling for a somewhat relaxed definition of stationarity. Sometimes some sort of looser definition of stationarity or relaxed definition of stationarity. Now, what is this relaxed form of stationarity that where we will settle? First of all, I have pointed out that for strict sense stationarity, equation 15 and equation 15a, that should be satisfied for all values of capital N greater than equal to 1 and all values of tau or m. So if we think in this way, that if we have certain random processes that satisfy condition 15 and 15 or 15a as the case may be for some small finite value of capital N, then it may so happen that we will be able to test whether that condition is satisfied or not, and we have to be satisfied by considering it as a condition for stationarity. So we say that a random process has kth order stationarity when equation 15 and 15a they are satisfied for capital N equal to k, where k has a finite value. It's an integer, a finite integer, finite positive integer. Sorry. Have you written this part? So the strict sense stationarity is satisfied only for some Gaussian processes. We have to therefore be satisfied with some relaxed form of stationarity. So slightly weaker form of stationarity is stationarity of order k, where k is a finite integer. We say that a random process has a stationarity of order k when we see that the conditions 15 or 15a they are true for all values of capital N less than equal to k. So I am considering the nth order joint density function, and I am integrating both sides of equation 15 with xn as the variable of integration. And if the integration is done over xn equal to minus infinity to plus infinity, what is the result? what do you get on the left hand side as a result of this integration, and what do you get on the right hand side? Obviously, from a knowledge of your joint statistics that you have, come across earlier, what you can say is that this integration of the left hand side, that will result in f small x1, small x2, small x3 up to small x n minus 1, t1, t2, t3 up to t n minus 1. That will be the result on the left hand side. Similarly, for the right hand side, you are just
স্যার একটু
making
উপরে যাবেন একবার।
আর ওপর
না ঠিক আছে স্যার, ওকে স্যার।
So we are considering up to capital N. What we are getting as a result of this integration, small xn, small xn and small nn or small tn, they have been weeded out. All right, they have been removed. So what is the result? Just I'm showing it, then I'll come back. Result of the integration on the left hand side yields this one, and on the right hand side you have that one. It shows that if you have a random process that is capital Nth order stationary, it is also capital N minus 1th order stationary. And if you go on repeating in this way, you will find that if it is capital Nth order stationary, it is N minus 1th order stationary. It is also N minus 2th order stationary, right down to up to first order stationarity. You understand? If you go on integrating in this way. হয়েছে লেখা। Thus, stationarity of order k, or I could have also written n, implies stationarity of order k minus 1. Proceeding similarly, it implies stationarity of all orders less than k, right up to the first order. So if you find that a certain random process has fourth order stationarity, automatically it will have third order stationarity, second order stationarity, and first order stationarity. If you find that a random process has third order stationarity, automatically it will be second order stationary as well as first order stationary. If you find that a random process has second order stationarity, it is obvious that it will also have first order stationarity.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, ডান।
So if a random process has first order stationarity, the first order statistics are independent of time.
Yes, sir, done.
হয়েছে ওটা আগেরটা?
স্যার আমার হয়নি, একটু উপরে যাবেন।
হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে।
Yes, sir, done.
Under that condition, what will happen? The ensemble average, it will be same for all instants of time. I have shown here for 2 instants, it will be same for all instants of time. All right. So the statistical mean representing the ensemble, representing the mean of the ensemble, statistical mean of the ensemble, whether you determine it for t equal to 0 or t equal to t1 or t equal to t2 or t equal to t3, the ensemble average will remain unchanged. So you can determine it anywhere you like for any value of t. That is the implication if you have first order stationarity only. Next is the second order stationarity. Remember that if you have second order stationarity, you automatically also have first order stationarity. When the second order joint probability density function is invariant to time shift, what happens? F x1 x2 t1 t2, that will be f x1 x2 t1 plus lambda t2 plus lambda. Then what will happen to the autocorrelation function? I have written down the expression. In place of f x1 x2 t1 t2, you may write f x1 x2 t1 plus lambda t2 plus lambda. So what will that result in? The autocorrelation function evaluated for t1 plus lambda, t2 plus lambda. All right. So that will be valid for all possible values of t1 and t2. What does that represent actually? The Rx t1 plus lambda, t2 plus lambda. The autocorrelation function is independent of values of t1 and t2, but depends only on the value of lambda. Under such a condition, when you have the second order stationarity, consequently you also have first order stationarity, we say that the random process under consideration is wide sense stationary. So White's stationarity means that the ensemble averages, they will be independent of time. The autocorrelation function, it should be not a function of T1, T2, but it should depend only on the difference between T1 and T2. So autocorrelation function, it's invariant to time shift. And covariance of the process is finite. Just 1 minute. Okay. Write down this part. After I complete discussing about this stationarity, I'll stop today. Not much left. I mean, not much left for today.
Yes, sir, done.
সবাই রয়েছে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, done.
Just here, I think that this will be not the covariance, but the variance. Because your Cx0 will give you the variance. As Rx0 gives you the mean square value, similarly Cx0 will give you the variance. So Cx T1 T2 also, it will depend on the difference between T1 T2 and T1, not on the absolute values of T1 and T2. So for a zero mean random process, autocovariance and autocorrelation functions, they are same. Zero mean means mu x will be 0. Mu x is 0 means Rx tau equal to Cx tau and Rxm equal to Cxm. When we talk about zero mean random process, it's implied that it is White-Sense stationary. Why? Because if it is not stationary, you cannot specify the mean value. If the process is not stationary, whenever you specify the mean value, the ensemble average, you have to specify the instant at which the mean value has been calculated. But because one of the conditions to be satisfied for White-Sense stationarity is that the ensemble average, that shouldn't depend on the time at which it's computed. Therefore, if the mean value is specified as 0, it implies that it is 0 for all instants of time. That means the process under consideration is stationary, White-Sense stationary, or first order stationary. If together with this, you find that this Rx tau is the Rx depends on tau only, then it's White-Sense stationary. So every stick-sense stationary random process is necessarily White-Sense stationary, but the reverse is not true. All right. Okay, let's stop here today.
Done,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Done. Done, sir.
Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay, then I am just logging out.